In a legal battle over oil and gas protections, Governor John Hickenlooper and Attorney General Cynthia Kaufman are at odds. Governor Hickenlooper ordered state regulators not to fight a court ruling addressing the public's safety and health. In response, Attorney General Kaufman filed an appeal to the Colorado Supreme Court, asking for a deeper look into the initial ruling. Patty, what do we make to this? Is this a significant separation between where Governor Hickenlooper is and Attorney General Kaufman, or are we making too much of it?
Well, I think given what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now, we kind of like seeing independence, even if it's wrong-headed independence from the AG's office. I think Hickenlooper made the right call not to appeal, but she read it differently. In some ways, it's kind of delicious to think about this case going to the Supreme Court, the Colorado Supreme Court, because it started as a children's crusade. Think about the kind of lesson they are really getting in government, in the law, and in the power that individuals have. So if and when it makes it to the Colorado Supreme Court, I'm going to hope all those kid plaintiffs are in the front row listening to what happens.
Michael, what do you think about the decision of Attorney General Kaufman going ahead and appealing this to the Supreme Court, which, you know, we never know how the Supreme Court's going to go, but if we look at the past decisions, probably it's not going to go her way.
Well, I think it has to do with clarity, and I think when you look at it, to your point, I think Governor Hickenlooper thinks that he is on the same page with the Attorney General in general, because the standard has already been balancing, property rights versus, the safety and the environment. But the people, the teenagers that you're talking about don't think that this, came out in the way that they wanted it to. And so I think that there is a good approach to take this to make sure that it's clear that balancing test is still in place, where we are looking at safety in the environment, and we should be. But we also have to balance that with oil and gas production, which is huge in our state, which is a big part of the economy. And so I think the Supreme Court should weigh in, and I think the Attorney General has every right to bring this case.
Ed, help us evaluate the gravity of the situation, because I think it's easy to look at headlines and say Kaufman against Hickenlooper and decides to go against his decision. That could be a really big deal, or it could be just how government works. You're a guy in Capitol Hill. You've been covering government for a long time. How do you perceive what's going on right now?
Well, I mean, let's be sure of one thing. The Attorney General's office represents various agencies of the state. That's one of her duties. And one of those agencies of the state is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, which on May 1st voted unanimously to try to appeal this decision. It's actually, in a lot of ways, her duty to follow that. And she would be offline if she decided, oh, I know you want to do this as my client, but guess what? We're not going to do this. That puts her in clash with the governor. But I don't think this is a huge clash. Let's remember, the governor is not out here saying, what Kaufman is doing is looking to, harm the public health. What the governor is saying is that he believes the way the court has interpreted state law is no different than the way that COGCC interprets state law right now, that it already balances public health with the needs of the industry. Kaufman sees it a different way. She sees that ruling as potentially tipping the scale against oil and gas companies, against property rights, and going against it. So I don't think this is some big breakdown of the executive branches here. This is Hickenlooper and Kaufman having a disagreement over what a court ruling means and over what her duties are. And I think, in her credit, she is asking for clarity, and that is exactly what's going to come out of this Supreme Court, is clarity, and we probably won't see a knockdown drag out between them because of that.
Mike, to Ed's point, is this more about the commission really at odds with Governor Hickenlooper and Attorney General Kaufman doing her job?
I agree with Ed. The AG's office is clear in its duties to defend its clients and represent them. So AG Kaufman is within the authority of her office. I also want to point out, too, this is underscoring one thing for me politically, that it's only a plus for Cynthia when she disagrees with the governor. She's headed into re-election. There's a lot of folks hoping to take her on next year. And let's face the facts, John Hickenlooper is a lame duck governor. Cynthia understands that, and she's ready to take the fight to him.